In this video, we're going to be talking about assertions and how to make assertions in WebdriverIO. Why assertions are important. Let's dive in. The next one that I want to show you is how to check text on a given element. The last one I want to show you is how to verify that a checkbox is actually checked. Welcome to this video series, where we explore the world of WebdriverIO to help you succeed in your test automation career. Hello, my name is Marco Cruz, and I'm the founder of AutomateNow. And I'm excited to team up with LambdaTest to bring you these awesome videos. My background is in computer engineering, and I have over a decade in software testing experience. You can learn more about my company by heading over to AutomateNow.io, and you can also find us on YouTube by searching AutomateNow. In this video, we're going to be talking about assertions and how to make assertions in WebdriverIO. But more importantly, we're going to discuss why assertions are important. Let's dive in. And here we have a few reasons why assertions are important. Number one is verify functionality. The whole point of testing is to verify some type of functionality, and assertions allow us to do that. We can also catch bugs, right? As a QA engineer, our main job is to make sure that we have a good product free of bugs. We're not always able to achieve 100% of that goal, but we know that with assertions, we're able to find many bugs. Having assertions in our tests also helps us to know that we're delivering a good quality product. That's why we have here ensuring quality. We're making sure that we are testing all the proper things within the program or whatever software we're trying to deliver. Having assertions in your test also improves test reliability. If you didn't have an assertion in your test, you wouldn't really know what's going on, whether the test is properly checking all the things that it's supposed to check. But when the test fails and it has an assertion, we know that that test is reliable. We know that there's a reason why the test failed. Assertions also allow us to document requirements. When you have a test with an assertion, you can pretty much tell what the test is actually doing, what it's actually checking for. Assertions also enhance debugging. And what I mean by that is that when you have a test that fails, you can look at the assertion and pretty much tell why the test failed. For example, it could be that the test was missing some element or it was missing some text in that element. Having assertions also helps us prevent false positives. A false positive is, for example, when a test fails, but it isn't really an issue with the application. If you have the proper assertions, your test will only fail when there is a legitimate error or a legitimate issue with the application. Now let's take a look at some of the common assertions. This list right here is not all the assertions that you can make in WebdriverIO, but it is some of the ones that you're more than likely to come across. I'm not going to go through each one of these. Feel free to pause the video so you can read what each one of these does. Next, we're going to take a look at how to use each one of these assertions in WebdriverIO. This is the website that we're going to be using in today's example. This is the Selenium playground in LambdaTest. And some of the things that we're going to do here, for example, is to check that this button is present. There are other things, for example, this title. We can also check these links to make sure that they're having the proper URL that they're going to send the user to when they click on it, and many other things. And the first thing that we're going to do here is to navigate to this website and make sure that the URL is this. So when we land on this page, we're going to check that this website has this given URL. And I've got this spec file right here called assertions.spec.js. This is where we're going to put all of our tests. And I've created this suite right here, which is basically making assertions. This before each hook right here is going to send every test to this URL every time we execute a test. All right, so here we're going to say it checks URL and sync. So by the time this test executes, it comes to the first line right here. This code would have executed already, all right? So we should have gone to this URL right here, lambdatest.com Selenium playground. Now we're going to make the actual assertion. So here we're going to say await. And the reasons why I'm getting this suggestion right here is because I have GitHub Copilot installed. So this is the reason why I see this. You may not see this suggestion if you don't have Copilot installed. So I'm just going to say expect, then that's what we're going to use. So just remember this keyword here, expect. That is what WebdriverIO uses in order to make assertions. So what are we expecting? We're expecting the browser, right? And I'm just going to hit tab here to fill in the blank to make it faster. Basically, we're going to make sure that this browser has this URL, right? So this is the actual assertion that we're making, okay? This is the method, toHaveUrl. And then you pass in the URL that you want to check for, all right? So we're going to, again, navigate to this URL, and then this is going to expect that that is the actual URL that you're at. Let me go ahead and execute this test so you can see this, that it's actually passing. I'm going to save everything, bring up the terminal, and go ahead and call npm run WDIO. And we can see here that this test is actually passing. There's another way to do this, all right? Right here, notice that we're passing in the entire URL, including HTTPS, etc., etc. But what if you just want to check that that the URL has, for example, LambdaTest in it, right? There's another way to do it. So here I'm just going to say or, and here I can just copy this, for example, and then paste it here. And instead of having this URL right here, I'm going to delete this. And here I'm going to add another expect. I'm going to say expect dot string containing. I'm just going to hit tab right here. This string containing method accepts a parameter here. So here I'm just going to say LambdaTest. All right. So what I'm checking for in this case is to make sure that the expected URL contains this text in it right here. So as you can see, you have two options of doing it. You can do it like this, providing the entire URL, or you can just check a part of the URL, for example, LambdaTest. The next example I want to show you guys is to how to check the title of a page. All right, so let me go back to the website for a second. And here we have the website. I'm going to right click, say inspect. And notice that if I expand this, I'm going to make this bigger. Every website has a head tag, also has a body tag. If we look at the head tag, we're going to find a title, right? This right here is the title for this website. Okay, Selenium Grid Online and all this other stuff over here. All right, so we're going to check that this website has this title in it. And I'm just going to go ahead and copy this right here and bring it down here. And here checks the title of the page. And I'm going to use this bottom one right here. So let me get rid of this stuff over here. And I'm going to say await expect browser to have, but instead of URL, we're going to say title, right? To have title, that one right there. And here we're going to also, instead of having putting in the entire title, remember that that one has a pretty long title. So I'm just going to use a keyword here, for example, Selenium, right? So let me look for Selenium over here. So here I'm going to replace this with Selenium. All right. So this is what this is going to do. It's going to go to that website and then check for this title. I went ahead and ran this test for you. And as you can see here, this is also passing. All right, let's move on to the next type of assertion. And for this next assertion, what I want you to do is to go to this website and check for this button. I want to make sure that this book a demo button is actually clickable. Again, let me copy this, paste it down here. Here I'm going to say that it checks that book a demo button is clickable. And I'm going to go ahead and create a constant here. I'm going to say const button is equal to await, and then we're going to locate that button, right? So, and this locator is going to work for us because this is the actual text that shows up on the button. So when you say button equal to book a demo, that's going to locate the button that has that text. All right. And then we want to make sure that the button is clickable. So we're going to update this right here. I'm going to go ahead and say, and instead of browser, we want to check on the button. Okay. So here we're going to say button that to be clickable. All right. So just like that. And that's how you check to see if a button is actually clickable. Next, I want to show you how to check for this text right here. We want to make sure that this Selenium Playground heading is actually showing up. All right. So if we inspect this element right here, we're going to see that this is an H1 tag, which has that text. So that's going to be pretty simple. Let's go ahead and copy this right here and paste it down here. We're going to checks the H1 heading. And in this case, we're going to also have a constant. We're going to call this constant heading. And we're going to say that it is an H1 tag, which has some text called Selenium Playground. And in the next line, we're also going to expect that this heading is displayed. So here we're going to say that to be displayed. Now, let's suppose that we want to make sure that this test fails when it's supposed to fail. Let's replace this Selenium with, for example, WDIO. All right, let's just say WDIO. We're checking for this, making sure that that is displayed, that text is showing up. Let me go ahead and run this test just to show you guys that this should fail. All right, so let's go ahead and save everything. And I just realized here that I selected the wrong one here. We're not checking to see if it's disabled. We're wanting to check to see if it is displayed. To be displayed. All right, so let's select the correct one. All right, so now this should work. And here we can see that the test has failed. And here we can see the issue. We're looking for an H1 heading that has this text right here. And we're expecting that to be displayed right here, but it's actually not displayed. Well, we know why it's not displayed. That's because the text is wrong. Okay, we've used the wrong text. So I'm just gonna change this back to Selenium. And here we can see the test pass when we provide the correct text right here. The next thing I want to do is to navigate to one of these links right here. We're gonna go to this one that says Simple Form Demo. And then we're going to check that this input box right here is enabled. In other words, that the user can actually go in here and enter some text. So let me go ahead and copy this right here and then paste it. You can comment that out. Let's go ahead and update this here. We're going to check that input element is enabled. And the first thing that we need to do is to actually go to that page, right? We know that at the beginning, the test is going to navigate to the Selenium playground. Then we need to actually click on that place to go to that simple form. All right, so here we're going to say constant. I'm going to call this one simple form link. And it is this link right here, simple form demo. So if I inspect this element right here, we can see right here that this is an anchor tag and it has this text right here. So I'm going to use the anchor tag and then the text to locate the element and click on it. All right, so let me go back over here. We're going to say await an anchor tag and we're going to say simple form demo. All right, once we have found that, we're going to say await and then we're going to say simple form demo dot click. Okay, just like that. Now let's inspect the element that we want to check on. All right, so let me go over here, click on that. We want to check this element right here. So I'm going to right click it, inspect, and we can see that this is an input. And let's see, oh, we have an ID right here. It says use user message. So that's the ID that we're going to use for this test. So let's go ahead and go back over here. And we're going to create a constant. Let's say input. And let me just go ahead and approve that. And here we're going to say that the ID is this one right here. Okay, user message. And then I'm going to update this assertion right here. I'm going to say that the input, and then I'm going to look for enabled. Okay, enabled, to be enabled right here. All right. So once we have that, that's all we need. And that's how simple it is to verify that some element is enabled. In this test, I showed you how to check that something is enabled. Now let's take a look at how to check if something is disabled. All right, so if you go back over here, if you go back to the first page, we're going to click on this one that says checkbox demo. Notice that in here we have several things, right? Several checkboxes. And down here we can see that, for example, this checkbox, there's no way to check them, all right? They're disabled, they're grayed out. We can check this one, right? But not the bottom ones, all right? So I'm gonna show you how to check that this box right here is indeed disabled. So again, I'm going to copy this and I'm going to check that a checkbox is disabled. First, we need to navigate to that checkbox page. So let's go back over here. We are going to go back to this page. We can see that right here we have a link, right? We're going to use the link text. We're going to say checkbox demo. So right here, I'm just going to say checkbox demo. And here, I'm just going to say checkbox link, checkbox demo link. And then I want to click on that link. I'm going to copy that, paste it here. So we're going to navigate to that page. Let's go ahead and take a look at the website to see what we want to do. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on this checkbox demo. And this is the option that we want to click on, right? Or at least check that it's disabled. So I'm going to inspect that one. we can see here that it has a it's of type checkbox. This is the class name. So it's going to be a little tricky to locate this element because I'm sure this class name is being used for other checkboxes. Let me just check the first one, for example. And yeah, MR-10 is also being used there. So let me go back down here to the third one. So what we can do here is, for example, is to locate a label that has option 3 as the text. And then we can say select the previous elements, okay? The previous. So for example, the preceding element, in this case would be the input. So that's how we're going to reference this element. So here I'm going to say option 3, and I'm going to replace this here with label equal to option 3. All right, and then I'm going to say dot previous element, and that previous element is going to be an input. And lastly, we're going to say that this right here is disabled, to be disabled. And that's all we need to do there. In the next one, I want to show you how to verify some text, right? Some user input. For example, if I say right here, enter message, and I put my name in there, I want to also verify that this text is actually showing up within this input field. And for that scenario, I can repurpose this test that I wrote earlier, where we were just verifying that that input field was enabled. And we're going to use that down here. We're going to check that the input element has a given value. And then down here, we're going to actually enter some text, right? So we're going to locate the element, and then we're going to say await, and then input dot set value. And then, for example, here we can say something like, I love testing. All right, and let's go ahead and add a pause after that. So we're going to say browser dot pause, and we can give it a 2-second pause. The last thing that I would want to do here is to make sure that that value is showing up in that input field. So I'm going to say expect input dot, and then I'm going to say value to have value, and just like that, right? So we're going to verify that this I love testing text is showing up within that input field. This is executing on the LambdaTest cloud. So let me go ahead and bring that up over here. I'm going to click on automation, and I'm going to go here. And it looks like the test has already completed execution. So let me go ahead and expand this right here, make it larger. And if I hit play, we're going to see that it navigates to this playground. Then it clicks on the demo, simple demo, and you can see right there the text. I love testing. So let me just back it up. And here we can see the text being shown in the field right here. And when we go back here, we can see that the test has passed. The next one that I want to show you is how to check text on a given element. For example, I want to verify that this element right here has this given text. So in this case, I'm going to look for an H1 element and verify that that element has this text in it. And this was going to be pretty simple. I'm just going to check for the H1 right here, or I'm going to say heading, all right, await. I'm going to look for an H1. And then I'm going to say await, expect that the heading, and then I'm going to type in text right here to have text. Next, I want to show you how to check for attributes in elements. So for example, if I go back over here and I look at one of these elements right here, all these links right here. So for example, checkbox demo again, let's inspect that one. We can see here that this is an anchor tag, and one of the attributes is href, okay? This href provides the URL that the user is going to be taken to when they click on this link. So we can check, for example, that this element indeed has an href attribute. We can also check that it has an attribute with this value, okay, that this has this URL in that attribute. And I'm going to check that the element has a given attribute. All right, so in this case, we're going to say constant. We're going to say that a link, all right, we're going to say await. So here we're going to say that we have an anchor tag with some text equal to checkbox demo. And then we're going to say await, expect that the link, and here we're going to say attribute, right, to have attribute. And what is the attribute that we're looking for? We're looking for href. And this is one way to do it. You're just checking to see that it has that attribute. If I hover over this, notice that we have other options, right? We can actually pass in a value, all right? An attribute and a value for that attribute. So here I'm just going to say for, and here I'm just going to copy this right here, paste it down here. Next, we're going to provide a value for that attribute. So this is the URL that I need. I'm going to go ahead and click on it and then grab the URL. And then I'm going to go back to my test and then paste that in here. All right. So this is the URL that should be used for this particular element. The next thing that I want to show you guys is how to check that an element has a given class assigned to it. What I mean by that is, let's take a look at this right here, right? Selenium Playground. I'm going to inspect this and notice that this is an H1 element. And I want to verify that this element has a given class assigned to it. In this case, I see that there are 3 different classes for this element, right? The first class is text size -50. The other one is text black and font bold. So I want to verify that the font bold class is assigned to this H1 element. So for that one, I'm just going to copy this right here and reuse it down here. I'm going to say checks that an element has a given class. All right, so we're going to say constant heading H1, then await expected that the heading, and then here we're going to look for class, toHaveElementClass. And the class that I'm checking for is the one that says text bold. All right, so that's it for that one. The next one that I want to show you guys is how to check for children of an element. So if I look at this over here, right, there's a lot of anchor tags, right? A lot of links. Let me inspect one of these. Notice all these li elements right here, right? So we have an on order list and then a bunch of list items inside of it, right? So I want to make sure that this on order list has children underneath it. In order to locate this on order list, I'm going to use this class right here, this list disk. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so here I'm going to check that an element has child elements. All right, so here we're going to say list, right? And then we said that we want to locate by the class name, which was list disk. And then we're going to expect that this list has children. So I'm just going to say children, right? To have children, like that. And that's how easy it is to do that. And we've covered a lot of ground today. If you're still here, I've got some more for you. The last one I want to show you is how to verify that a checkbox is actually checked. All right, so I'm going to click on this checkbox, and then we're going to click, for example, on this. Click on checkbox. And we're going to verify that this right here, this checkbox is actually checked. And for this test, I'm going to repurpose another test that we wrote earlier. Let me just go and comment this. And we're going to check that a checkbox is checked. All right, so again, we're going to go to the checkbox demo page. We're going to click on that link. And when we get there, we're going to actually click on a checkbox. All right, so let me go back to the page. This first checkbox over here, I'm going to inspect this one. And we can see that this is input and it has an ID, right? Is age selected. So we're going to use this ID right here. All right, so here I'm going to say constant first checkbox. And I'm going to say here await, and this is going to be an ID like this. Once we locate that checkbox, we're going to say await, and we'll say first checkbox dot click. I'm going to click on that checkbox, and let's add a pause here. We're going to say await browser dot pause. I'm going to pause for 2 seconds. And lastly, we're going to expect that the first checkbox, and we're going to say here that is checked. Checkbox to be checked. So the test is finished. I'm going to save my work and re-execute this. Then we're going to go back over here, LambdaTest. Let me refresh the page. There we can see that the test is executing right now. Let me go ahead and show you guys. And here we can see that the test has executed and it's going to that checkbox. It's checking the box right there. We can see that the box is checked, and it also verifies that it's actually checked. So if we go back over here to the IDE, we see that the test has passed. I hope you enjoyed learning about assertions in WebdriverIO. Go check out the WebdriverIO documentation so you can learn about what other assertions are available for you to try. Thank you for making it all the way to the end of the video. Check out any of the links on the screen to get connected with the LambdaTest community, get certified, and get access to the code that you saw today. See you in the next video.